Hey, welcome back to the Fire and Water Cooking and Travel Podcast. I am Darren, your host, of course, and today we're going to focus on chamber vacuum sealers with JVR Industries with Mr. Peter Laurent. He is going to talk about everything that JVR has been working on, and we'll discuss their chamber vacuum sealers. I'll be right back with Peter Laurent. Welcome to the Fire and Water Cooking and Travel Podcast, where we discuss all things food, cooking, and travel related. Join us as we discuss all different types of cooking methods, cooking styles, all different types of food and restaurants. And of course, we'll talk about travel as it relates to foodie travel, like cruises, all different kinds of food tours, and all that. We'll have on special guests to talk about cooking methods and cooking styles, and also travel. Make sure you subscribe, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. All right. Well, thanks for joining me back again here with the Fire and Water Cooking and Travel Podcast. My name is Darren, of course, and today I've got a special guest. It's a company I've had on before, but I got a new person. This is Peter Laurent. He is from JVR Industries, and if you've ever watched any of my other videos, you'll see that I use the JVR VAC 100 chamber sealer all the time. It's my favorite chamber sealer I've ever had, and you'll always see me pitching them anytime I get, because it's a high quality unit. So I had Andy Essing on, who is one of the actual presidents now, I guess, of the company. They kind of bought it out since I had him on 4 years ago. So we're going to talk a little bit about the changes that JVR's gone through. So Peter, welcome, and introduce yourself and let's talk.
So I'm Peter Laurent. I'm with JVR Industries. I've been with JVR Industries for, I think it's been like 3.5 years now. So pretty soon after Andy and Bob took over JVR as owners. And oddly enough, they basically ran the place prior to purchasing the place. So they were basically running the place, I don't know, years before that, but actual acquisition took place about 4-ish years ago. JVR Industries is a vacuum packaging industry expert. We sell everything from consumables, whether it's chamber vacuum pouches, all the way down to your vacuum seal bags and rolls for food saver style units, like those edge suction external vacuum sealers. And we go all the way up into the roll stock thermoformers, the films for that, the easy peel, whatever it might be, custom printed across the board. So that's been kind of cool to attack that more heavily recently. And rebuilt units like roll stock thermoformers. That's been a heavy part of our company recently. And obviously all these consumer chamber vacuum sealers and so forth. We do some brine injection. Vacuum tumbling is definitely a thing. Anything vacuum you can think of, we're covering that. So, and we've been doing that since.
Where did you come from, Andy? So, or not Andy, or Peter? Got Andy. I've got Andy on the paper. That's why. So yeah, where do you come from, Peter? Where did you come from before you started with JVR? What was your career path? Where did you start, and how do you fit into JVR now?
Yeah, so it actually is cool how it worked out. So about 10 years ago, I got heavily into, if not longer, I got heavily into flexographic printing, slitting, rewinding, very machine oriented. So I'd run, these massive Mark Andy units or Rotoflex units and all that stuff. Super, super cool. It was very specialized what I was doing. It was geared towards medical industry. And that company's still around. They're actually pretty big in downtown Buffalo. But about 6 years into working with them, I was hired on by Niagara Label in Akron, New York. And I was a pre-press technician. I supplied a lot of the graphic work to the presses, whether it be a digital press or a flexographic press. And they did a lot of specialty finishes. They worked with a lot of wine industry, alcoholic industry, cannabis industry they were starting to get into. And so I worked heavily with a lot of designers from all over the US and made sure their files looked beautiful before it hit press. That way, when it hit the bottle, it looked pristine. So eventually, somehow, Andrew found out about my existence, I believe through a friend a coworker that his wife mentioned my name, and they started hiring me out because I had a side business of graphic design. And I started doing a lot of their films, or actually the VAC 100 design I was a part of prior to being hired on full time. And it kind of just blew up after that. Like, dude, do you want a job? And I was all over it. And I've been loving it since. So I do a lot of the design on the units, and a lot of the custom printed stuff that we do. I'm pretty heavily affiliated with marketing, advertising, video stuff that you see on YouTube. It's just man of many hats at this point, but yeah.
But you came in kind of through the side door then. So
Yeah,
just from,
yeah,
kind of like doing some, side work here and there because they heard about you and now you're full blown brought you on. I know Andy was doing a lot of that stuff when they first started tackling the consumer side, and he was, reaching out to a lot of people like me, influencers type, and relied
yeah,
on us to kind of help promote the VAC 100, especially when he first rolled it out. And I think he was somewhat successful with that, but then he knew he needed somebody else in there to kind of help out and help out with that as well. So I think it really helped him out when you started because he could take a lot of that work and pass it off to you. So so when you came on, you were doing some labels and kind of the printing stuff, and then he kind of like ushered you into, hey, kind of why don't you help me out doing some marketing and stuff here?
yeah, yeah. Slowly got ushered into all of that. Um, the design was the main priority originally, but I'm I would say a pretty self-motivated person. So
Yeah.
I was like, dude, just give me whatever you can. I would love to help you out in any way. So it kind of blossomed from there. I guess that's probably the most simple way to put it. And the affiliates are still like a huge part of our business. And we definitely, it's been cool to see how we can grow the business with our current affiliates and with our advertising simultaneously, and kind of try not to step on anyone's toes and work together. It's
Right.
been definitely
Well,
a good learning curve, that's for sure.
yeah. Well, and you guys don't want to rush. You don't want to sell, a million units. You're not that size of a company yet. I mean, you kind of slow growth. I know that JVR has been around since 1972, and we can talk a little bit back about that. On my original video with Andy, we kind of discussed it, how long JVR has been in business and mostly on the commercial side. And we don't have to go too deep into that. But I know that it was 4 or 5 years ago they decided to start stepping their toes into the consumer side a little bit and also
Yep.
branching out into some other stuff on the commercial side. And I know when Andy and his dad took over the company, they wanted it to grow and not just do the same thing. They want this to be an ever growing business for sure. So now that you've offered up some more consumer stuff, I mean, what is the balance still? Is it still like 90% commercial stuff and 20 and 10% consumer? Or is it kind of moving the needle a little bit since you started offering more products?
Uh, yeah, I would say it's moved the needle a little bit, but it's tough to gauge because if we're talking monetarily or unit, obviously you're going to have a different ratio. But generally speaking, it's it might even be like down the middle. I'm not entirely sure about the exact, but I do know that our commercial side we're still selling to a lot of the same customers and a lot of new customers. And
Mm,
I think that's partially because we've generated more opportunities for commercial side business and stuff like that. So the VAC series line, yes, it's for, a consumer style purchaser, but not all of the VAC series is strictly for consumer. We have
no, yeah,
plenty of commercial accounts that are like, hey, I can get myself into a larger unit that costs less than the pump, like a bush pump in the
no,
same
yeah,
size unit, for a commercial grade. So a lot of people are shifting that way. Some people are a little more hesitant because they have such a confidence in the bush pumps and the ProMarks units that we sell. So they kind of stick to that, and we totally understand that. But I think as this product ages, people are going to get that confidence that, hey, these pumps are phenomenal. So,
Well, and I think a lot of your competition, like VacMaster and some of the others, really their product is an inferior product as far as I'm concerned, as far as the vac line goes. And when you compare them side by side, you know, especially since they don't even offer anything that's in the VAC 100 line, some of the stuff that they try to get more on the consumer side that's not restaurant grade, I would say, because usually the big units, nobody really wanted to have a huge, vac master in their house. it's
oh yeah,
it's not, and they're not going to spend a $1,200 and put this big huge 150-pound stainless steel monster on their kitchen
right,
counter. But the VAC 100 fits right there, and it's still got the same power and flexibility, or actually more flexibility as far as I'm concerned than their units. But to compare your like the VAC 110 and stuff like that to their units, it's still, you guys have a big up on them. I think a lot of those companies got comfortable where they were at, didn't think there was anybody going to come in and kind of challenge them. But over the last 4 or 5 years, I've seen a lot more
yep,
companies going into that space. And they
yep,
usually are the cheaper Chinese units, the dry pumps that don't last very long, that are smaller, and they're still trying to get $400 or $500 for them, and they don't last, and they rust out, and they're just, pretty much won't do it half of what the VAC 100 will do. So let's talk a little bit about that, since you guys have gotten into the consumer side. It's changed, like I said, over the few years that I've just been, paying attention to it. How has that affected your business? I mean, is your business still continue to increase and grow? Are you finding you're getting more people coming to you going, hey, I've had this one before, but yours looks much better?
yeah. So we're still seeing growth. It's an upward trend. It's been great. As far as what we're doing I think what makes us different or sets us apart from the competition is just listening. So not everyone operates their business like that. I think it's impartiality, it's listening, but it's also considering the future as much as possible. So we prioritize things a little differently, and that's probably why a lot of consumers are happy, because they're being they're going to be considered more than maybe a Chinese company that's just coming in and flipping units for a very small margin. So one example would be, we had a customer reach out to us. They were dissatisfied. It's a really small thing, but they couldn't fit their unit close up to the back wall on the counter, and it frustrated them, I guess. And so what we did was we just got a right angle IEC power cable, no big deal. And here you go. Now you can snug it as close as you can to that wall as possible. Nice, simple fix. But I think when consumers get that type of support where it's like, hey, we're willing to upgrade, we're not looking to shift models entirely and uproot all of our business. We're staying consistent, and we're staying with the foundation we built, which is the units behind me, and we're developing it. So we're listening to the consumers. We're going, okay, yep, let's implement that into our product design, and then continue to revise our products as much as possible to get them to the standards of our customers and to the standards of what we would like to see. So I think both those things help it become a very refined product.
Well, that's one of the things too that I even discussed this with Andy back 4 or 5 years ago, was the ability for you guys, since you are not a huge conglomerate, uh,
Mhm.
to take a phone call and address people's concerns. Because even some of the big boys, you can't get a hold of anybody if you got a problem with your unit. you know you got to go through some AI online thing that you ask a question 12 times, gives you 12 different answers. You can't get a hold of anybody. So the great thing about you guys is you got somebody that will pick up the phone call or reply to an email if you're
Right.
having an issue. And
Yes.
thank goodness your quality of your unit makes it to where there's not that many things that come up. But like you said, things like that where, hey, I want to be able to put this flush to my thing, and you guys came up with stuff. But going back to, when the VAC 100 first came out, there's been changes to that unit for the better as well, like the programming slots, where you can actually have pre-built times in the for the vacuum running and for the sealer and all that kind of stuff. I mean, things like the auto clean and stuff that you guys have added things to value, and it didn't cost more. That's the
Yep.
thing I really liked about it. So let's talk about that a little bit more.
So as far as like how we keep implementing changes and not bumping up price, is that what you're
Yeah,
looking?
how you implement new things that work better for the customer, and then not jacking the price up, much more because you can, kind of thing.
Right. So I think we've generated a system on how we sell our product and generated a margin that's sufficient for our company to grow over X amount of years. So we're very thoughtful on how we plan every step out so that we can always give what we promised. And we there's kind of a statement that's said in-house a lot is under promise, over deliver. So that's kind of our little motto in house that we don't really tell people, but that's what we aim to do. So whether it comes down to that telephone automation stuff that you're talking about, we stay away from that completely because we planned ahead of time. Like our margins are built a certain way so that we can continue to service our customers. As far as the development of the VAC 100 and any other model, there are things in the works. So I can't necessarily disclose what those are yet. I'm really excited about them. Keep an eye out for those in the next year or so.
Yeah, and like I said, that's what really I really love about you guys is that, like I said, you'll add things to the unit that are beneficial. They're not just fluff, like the
Yep.
programming slots. There's very few units in that range that will have programming ability where you can have 9 different settings, and then you have the auto clean function of the oil, which is amazing, because it'll help keep the oil, from just getting all cloudy and everything. Some of the other advantages to it, the little arm that holds the unit up while you are changing the oil, that little sidebar arm, and how
Yep.
easy it is to get this thing when you're changing the oil and all that. It's super easy compared to a lot of the others. I did some, comparisons to units around the same price and around the same type, range. And by far, the VAC 100 blew everything away just because of all the additional options that it has on it and the functionality, and even the VAC 110. I don't want to just harp on the 100. The 100 is my favorite because it works well for my house.
For your
You know,
specific situation. Yeah.
for my specific situation, and for a lot of the people that follow me that do the sous vide cooking and all that, the 110 and the bigger units like that, those are great for, smaller businesses, restaurants, things like that. And some people have the bigger ones too. I have a buddy of mine that has the big, massive, huge one because he likes, he processes a lot of food, and
Yep.
that's what he uses it at his house. But so the innovation that you guys throw in there and keep in there and don't keep jacking the price up is amazing to me. So the focus, you guys went to China recently, you said, and
Yeah.
some of the things you just said, probably can't talk about yet because they're not in uh, done yet. But I just want to address that this is not a made in America product. Most
Yep.
everything's made in China anyway. I mean, even the ones that you think like VacMaster, they're all made in China. They're not made in America. They're not made in Europe. There's a very few now that are made in America. I don't think you can find a chamber sealer that's made in America. So, hey, it's Darren. I want to make sure you check out Fire and Water Cooking Edible Creations, Seasonings, and Sauces. The black garlic we use is the highest quality domestic black garlic you can find, from the black garlic and herb compound butter to the blueberry and black garlic to our all-purpose black garlic and our black garlic and coffee seasoning. All are amazing. made with the highest quality ingredients. You can find them on Amazon, Walmart.com, and on fireandwatercooking.com. Check them out, guys. So, but picking the right partner to partner with to manufacture is very important. And I know Andy was very particular when he started working with the company that you guys work with, and they're very open to all the requests that you guys make. So how easy are they to work with, and uh, how important is that to you guys?
Yeah. So to attack the first end of that, yeah, we're not made in China. I think one thing that really sets us apart in that way is, like you were stating before, that proprietary design. Also in tandem with the support, we do inspect every single unit before it hits the UPS or FedEx truck. So every single unit is getting some level of technician that's like high-end technician in-house reviewing the vacuum pull. He's reviewing operations of the control panel functionality, making sure everything's nailing 100% before it ships out the door. So it's kind of like there is American jobs that are being hired as much as possible to counteract the Chinese made machines. So I think that's kind of a huge thing that I think a lot of people are really satisfied with. It's like, okay, we're getting the value down for the customer while simultaneously meeting the needs of, hey, let's get some American jobs. Let's get some technicians on this that are really experienced, make sure that the quality is there before we ship it out. So that's the first end of something that you addressed in that
Well, let's
statement.
talk about, let me just say one more thing, because
Yeah,
that's the biggest deal to me. Is I know a lot of stuff's made in China, and it doesn't have to be made in America to make me happy. It just has to be something where I know I can go to somebody for support. Like you guys put your name and your business on the line. You don't just go, oh, you got to call some guy in China to fix that.
exactly.
There's too many things on Amazon where they're direct, dump stuff on Amazon or what have you, that you couldn't get support for if you tried. So
Yeah,
that you guys put your name and your business and your reputation and since 1972 on the line for this stuff. If something
yeah,
goes wrong, you're not blaming anybody else. It's you. You suck it up. You fix it. You
yep.
make sure it's correct. So I just wanted to make sure. Now I'll let you go. I just wanted to make sure people understood that, because
Oh
just
yeah.
because it's made in China doesn't mean it's a piece of junk.
Yeah, we
It's
have tens of thousands of dollars worth of parts in-house for every unit. We still support and work with another company, ProMarks, and we sell their products. There's some of those units, I don't know if it was ProMark specifically or another company that we worked with at one point that we still service today that's 30 years old, machine that's still operating commercially. So that we are hoping to, hit some pretty long duration time service here on these units as well. So it's kind of a cool testament, but the Chinese manufacturer to hit that, they have been absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I can't say enough good things about the manufacturer. The people are incredible. It was really good to meet them face to face. They taught us a lot. Let's just put it that way. As far as servitude and stuff like that. But they're really on top of it. Their work ethic is mind-boggling. When we're looking to develop any new unit, we have drawings within, 6 to 24 hours, depending on the day, which is just insane. It's like the speed of what they do is phenomenal, and their level of detail is great to work with. As far as customization on updates on these units, anytime we need to implement something new, it's never, no, I don't know if we can do that, or I'm not sure. It's always like, yeah, we can do that. So they're super on top of, let's make customizations, let's continue to grow this. And they're also very considerate of not messing with the price too much for us, so that we can honor our customers too,
Mhm.
by not jacking the price up. We try to be really consistent with that. So, but overall, phenomenal people. It's a family-owned business, just like JVR. They are one of a kind. I can't say enough good things about them.
And I want to touch on that because I've, doing what I do and being, you know, uh, attached to some of the other companies and just watching them, I can see some of the other Chinese made products from other manufacturers, you can find that same product, even with VacMaster. It's the same product as some other company. They just put a different badge on it.
Yep.
So you can tell it's not, they're not, they didn't make the unit. They just said, okay, I want, especially on their suction sealers, they'll take that and just stick their name on it. Then you'll see it with Nutra, Vac or some other company's name on it as well. So it's just the same unit with a different name on it. But, and you're supposed to be buying VacMaster's name, so to
Yeah.
me, you guys go in and say, this is my unit. I want this unit. I'm putting my life on the line for it, or our business on the line for it. So you won't see any more VAC 100s out there with a different name on it. Is what I'm trying to get at. So
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think too with those situations, there is a lot of the components that are the same. Sometimes they'll alter components a little bit too. So someone might think, oh, I'll just buy this DZ whatever from,
yeah,
whatever
yeah,
company. And then
yeah,
they'll go to another company to buy the parts and they don't work.
right,
And then they have different revisions because things change over the years. And we've seen that with certain companies where it's like, oh, that's a totally different pump than, 5 or 10 years ago.
right.
Because pumps are getting more efficient and stuff like that. So the cool thing about us is we'll always have those updated parts available right on the website. And even if you have an older version of that model unit, we'll still have the parts for those. And one example would be the VAC 410. We have 2 bars now because we have 2 revisions of that unit, but they're both available and we'll
Yeah.
continue to support that. So
One of the things when I first started my vacuum sealer group on Facebook, Andy was very active in it back a few years ago when he had time. And anybody could come in there and just say, hey, I've got this cheap Chinese unit I bought from Amazon for $300 and it's not working right. Andy would jump in and go, hell, this is what's wrong with it. Probably, you could probably fix it. I can, if you can order a part from me and I'll try to help you out with it. But he was always really big and doing that. I know he's, like I said, he's really busy now. But the thing I'm trying to get at is that people don't understand, value over price. To buy something really cheap that's gonna not last you, that's put together cheaply, it's cheap for a reason. You're
yeah,
paying $300 or $400 for a unit that, comparing it to the VAC 100, which is more, but that unit's not going to last you. You're going to end up, last you maybe a year or two at the most. If something happens, there's no support, can't get a hold of anybody. You got a 40, 50 pound piece of junk just sitting on your counter you're going to have to throw away.
yep,
With you guys, you may be spending a little bit more money, but the quality and the support and the service you're going to get. I had people that had a VAC 100 for 4 years and something went wrong and you guys fixed it. So it's not like, some of the other stuff out there. So that's one thing I want people to understand. You may spend a little bit more money on a VAC 100 than
yep,
you would the cheap Chinese, whatever the Viva or whatever they are on there. They're $300. But like you said, they got this cheap pump in there. All the components are really, really cheap. It's not going to last long. There's no support. You're going to end up throwing that thing away and wasting your 300 or 400 bucks where you could have bought a VAC 100 and you'll be happy for 20 years down the road.
yeah. And kind of to speak to that, we still have phone calls like that where people will call us about their chamber vacuum sealer that they purchased from a competitor and asking if we can service it. It's like, well, have you reached out to them? I have. I just can't get a hold of them. So we do everything in our power to get them going. Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't, depending on the situation. We've had customers call us where they pretty much say, oh, I've had this unit for a year and it's trash now. And now I'm just going to buy another one of that same competitor's units. And it's like, well, if you think about it, if you're buying it every year, a
Yeah.
$300 or $400 unit at this point, just spend that extra money. I know it's more expensive up front, but it's the same concept as you can eat McDonald's now, right? And go to the hospital later. You pay less up front, but you might terminate your life a little bit quicker. Or you can turn around and say, hey, I'm going to eat good today and spend less money at the hospital. So I like to use that as a good example of how these units are. It's put the money into it initially. It's going to save you tons of money. I got guys who call me, they tell me all the time, hundreds and hundreds of dollars that they save just from, you know, their experience with us. But we've also seen the other side of the coin where customer calls up, their units crap, and then they were like, yeah, I reached out to the manufacturer. They told me that they discontinued the model and they can put X amount of dollars towards the next new model. And I was like, forget, just keep your money. I'm going to go buy it from JVR.
Yeah.
So that was cool to hear that. I've had that a couple times too. So
Yeah. And one of the things too, like I said, it's not just the quality of the product. It's the innovation that you guys have into it. I mean, it's not, it wasn't just the quality that really attracted me to the back 100. It's the design of it, how it's, it's I can put it under my cabinet and it fits perfect and I can still use it. The way how easy it is to change the oil and service it, the programming ability, the different accessories now that you guys have with it. I mean, I use my containers, and I told Andy this early on when he first started with the plastic ones. I said, they're not going to last. It took him a little while to figure it out. And I said, I showed him some of those, and I said, these are the ones you got to look at because they're not going to crack. It's steel. Your lid is a lot thicker on these, so they're going to work great. But when he started selling these new containers are awesome. What I do, I grind a 3-pound bag of coffee like once every couple of weeks, and I put my coffee in there and I vacuum seal it. So it's just like buying those vacuum sealed bags at the store, but it's a lot cheaper. So, but the accessories that you guys put out are very useful. They're high quality as well. They're not cheap things just to throw out there to sell. They are well thought out, high quality, and work really well. So
yeah.
let's talk a little bit about that. What are the other accessories you guys are coming out with, or that you have that you're really excited about?
Yeah. So to kind of address that one, yeah, the plastic ones, they were something that the manufacturer, I think, just kind of gave with the unit early
Right.
on, and they were just kind of like, let's move it and just throw out warnings. People pull light vacuum, but more often than not, people were pulling too high of a vacuum. But when people honored it, we didn't have a terrible amount of failures. But when people did not honor it, there would be imploded plastic and whatever else. So obviously, after hearing so many accounts, we had to consider a lot of things at that time because we were growing pretty rapidly. So it's like, what's more important at this time? Let's dedicate our time towards that. That might have been lower priority initially. Eventually, we had to tackle it. So that's when we kind of introduced the VacLock stainless steel canisters. Obviously, it's cylindrical because that's a really stable shape under vacuum draw. And then when we brought it into the market, this is what we like to do with all of our products, which I think is a really cool testament to how we function. We beta test them. So with our customers, we'll take X amount of units and we'll go, who's interested, or have we had any recent requests from specific customers? We
I got
forward off the
some.
product. Yeah, so and the VacLock got tested by multiple people. We had people doing full vacuum draw. I had one beta tester tell us 3 months under full vacuum, not a single problem. So that was like, we're ready to roll. This is looking phenomenal. We've had a couple bumps in the road, but they're very minimal when you're talking all the units sold. Very small failure. So it's been phenomenal. The success rate with that has been amazing. So props to all of our beta testers and for everyone that's ever been involved in that process. We do have other products that we've recently launched and we're really excited about. So 100 packs for the past X amount of years, we've only had 3 and 4 mil, but we just recently introduced 5 mil. 5 mil was, I believe, only available in the cases. So the fact that someone can get it in such small quantity is a huge deal. And you do not see that in the market like anywhere. Getting that small of a quantity with that thick of a gauge is definitely a rarity. And we expanded our 100 pack zipper back pouch as well. So now there's way more sizes there and we even expanded our 500 pack availability too, which is mind blowing because we already had so much of a selection. The fact that we could even add more was awesome to see that take place. And then a couple other products that we launched, I think in the past couple years, are maintenance packs. So Andy and I sat down. It's like we need to find something where someone can get all their needs right off the bat. You know, whether it be a gasket for when a vacuum leak takes place, down to a typical oil change that's more routine. Package it all up, get them at a reduced cost, and that way when they're picking up their first unit, they can just snag up that maintenance pack. They don't have to be scrolling through a website endlessly. It'll save them a couple bucks, and it's a win-win for everyone. So there's been a few product launches in the past couple of years, and even down to the nitty-gritty details like that right angle IEC power cable. That's for the 100 and 110, and even seal bar tape. So seal bar tape, obviously we have a long history with sourcing things from many locations. We don't just source things from China. We source things in the US as much as possible for these units. And one of those examples is oil and the seal bar tape and many other things. So the tape that was coming stock with these, a lot of the VAC series would, on commercial size units like the 610, would burn out after maybe a couple weeks or a few months. And it was a little too quick. So we sourced it right out of the US, and now it's like a premium seal bar tape. It multiplied the lifespan like 3 or 4 times over. So anyone that's getting that new tape is definitely reaping the benefits of longer lifespan. And we did not increase the price, even though we knew the lifespan was, 3 times, 4 times the previous tape. So,
Well, and I'm probably on the retort bar. That it needs it on the retort bar, because that retort bar, I love it when I'm doing, and I'll use it on the thicker bags as well, the retort and the Mylar bags. But it's a thinner wire in the seal
yep.
bar, but it gets a lot hotter and it
Yes. Yep.
concentrates more. But you can tell on the original seal bar tape where that is, because it burns it
Holes
right
and
in.
stuff. Yeah.
Well, it just browns it after 2 or 3 uses. You can see it. You can just see where the wire is. You can tell it gets burned out pretty quick. So that's another thing. You guys have a retort bar, which,
Yep.
you can use a regular bar, but it's just not as good on the retort bags. You might have to do a longer seal time or something on it, and that's not really good for your bar on the regular bar to have it do super long sealing times, because it can uh, reduce the life of it dramatically. So that buying that extra retort bar, if you do retort or Mylar sealing, is awesome, and it's not expensive. So it's a lot cheaper than buying a whole other unit for sure.
Yeah. The other thing I think is really cool is we always implement secret functionalities. So one example would be a couple of years ago, we announced like, hey, guess what? There's actually hidden inside your cushion strip on your 110, 310, 410, and we have a seal stamp kit that you can plug in numbers, any value you want for like dating and stuff like that. So people are doing higher volume. It's phenomenal because every time they close that lid, it's stamping the mouth of the pouch with an expiration date or whatever. And then we actually are going to be, I haven't announced it yet, but the 410, uh, we've never shared that it's capable of retort. So I figured I'd address that. We have someone doing soil, which is really interesting use of a chamber vac, but they're doing Mylar bags and they're sealing 8 at a time. They've already done tens of thousands of Mylar bags on the 2 seal bar assemblies, and they're super happy with it. So we're really excited to see that live and in action, and we'll be announcing that soon, the capability of that. So
One design thing you get and maybe you can't do it. Maybe there's a reason, I don't know. But hit Andy up. Put a piece of Velcro on that cushion, on the seal bar cushion, because
right.
when that thing, if I'm sitting there doing a bunch of bags, or for some
Yep.
reason, if there's any moisture in there, that thing will fall off. And trying to get that thing back up there, is there a reason why it's not stuck in there at a more stable, or more, so it doesn't keep falling out, that cushion?
Yeah. So it's kind of like a standard design. Chamber vacuum sealers being in just like a U-shaped bracket. It's pretty typical. So with the VAC 100, we've seen a few of them where this takes place. And what we just tell the customer is one of two things is grab another cushion strip, put it in there. I've had customers just do that and they're totally fine. And then other times it's just squeezing off the bracket. Just be really careful doing that,
Yeah.
obviously. It's not terribly concerning because we have extra brackets in house. So worst case scenario, you damage it, you replace it, no big deal. But it's very much a rarity that I've seen that. You're probably the second person I've ever heard in the course of thousands of units. So,
It's just when it falls out, it's annoying trying to put it back up
oh
there.
yeah, that
And
is
like I
annoying.
said, I think I'm going to actually just put a piece of Velcro tape in there, the double-sided Velcro, it just so it sticks up there and holds it in place and doesn't fall out. So,
Just be
uh,
careful because it might change the depth on that cushion strip,
yeah,
which
yeah,
will
right.
close it. Yeah,
And
yeah,
it'll be, it won't get as much vacuum out. That's probably why they do it that way, because they don't want it to, so I might just maybe just pinch it a little bit more so it doesn't fall out as easy sometimes.
yeah. Just make
So,
sure equa distributing the squeeze all the way down the channel there.
right.
Yep.
So what else you want to talk about? We didn't talk much about the VAC 110 and the other bigger units. So the focus on that, do you get many home users using those, or is it mostly like small businesses like restaurants and packing uh, places like that? Is that who that customer is? So more on the commercial side, but not really like the bigger units where they're packaging stuff all the time.
Yeah, I think we get a variety of people based on how they find us and what their application is. So VAC 100 is your typical home user. 110 is more so a home user than commercial. Once in a while, we get commercial buyers, but typically it's 310 and up. Sometimes you'll get real small businesses like family-owned businesses that are just starting up. They're just looking for something real a bit less expensive to start up with, and then they can shift into one of those bigger models. So I would say this is more geared towards when we're talking consumer level units. This is geared towards, convenience and your typical, shifting from a food saver style unit to this. A lot of people are just looking for something a little bit bigger, not terribly more expensive. It's definitely the best to get into right off the bat. Some people are concerned. They end up going to this because they see this and they think plastic chamber, or they think weaker pump, no horsepower rating, and oh, look at the lid, it's made out of glass, and there's a lot of those concerns. Uh, and I always just tell those customers, hey, these glass lids, they're tempered, they're shatterproof. Yes, it's contoured, but we've driven over it with a forklift on cement, and it contoured right down in the cement and then flexed right back to its original state with no damage. So I always make the joke, like, you don't plan on driving over your VAC 100 with a forklift, you should be fine. But the pumps, same thing. They're phenomenal. They're both oil lubricated rotary vane vacuum pumps. Yes, one's got a lower flow rate, but don't look at the horsepower. Just look at this means X cycle time, and that's where you get that. The composite also has been out for almost 5 years now. Not a single damaged chamber since we started up. So that's a testament to that material has been phenomenal. So no concerns there. We wouldn't risk our reputation on a plastic chamber just to try to sell a lower dollar item. That's not worth it at all. So that's been great. The 110 on the other side of that coin is uh, kind of like the powerhouse. It pumps out product way quicker. So if you find yourself doing higher volumes, that's a great one to use. But if you are looking just for speed in general or simple functionality, these are great. So a lot of older people that are just, they don't like the small display. They like that they can feel the buttons because they're tactile. It kind of meets the needs of those customers. And there's a lot of similarities with these two. Like, it's able to hinge forward so that you can work on the products or the parts inside. It's also has that retort capability in both units. So they are pretty similar. There's just some slight differences, I think, between the two. So
Yeah, I've had my VAC 100 for over 4 years now, and I put it through plenty of paces, and I had no issues at all. I mean, the computer works great. I love the digital, um, the digital, what do they call it? Dial thing instead of the
Oh,
analog.
yeah, digital
Yeah,
gauge. Yeah.
yeah, the gauge instead of the analog gauge. I don't know how accurate the analog gauge is compared to the digital anyway, but I like having that little display because it looks sleeker to me. It fits under my cabinet better than the other ones. The way it's just laid out and how everything just, like I said, it just works great for me. And I had no issues with it at all ever since I've had one. As far as using it, I mean, I love the fact that I can have it set up with different times and for the seal bar and the pump, because I have some smaller bags I use. I have different functionalities that I use it for, and it's easy just to use the pre-programmed settings in there as well.
Yeah.
And I tell you, ever since that oil cleaning function's been on there, I use that a lot. It just saves me having to change the oil out, as often as I used to have to. So
Yeah.
this podcast is sponsored by Fire and Water Travel Services. Let us help plan the foodie vacation of a lifetime for you. Whether it's an ocean or river cruise, tours of Europe, all-inclusive resorts in the Caribbean, anything you need, we can help plan it and customize it for you. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, check out fireandwatertravel.com, and also check out our YouTube channel for videos on travels.
I did want to address another support feature that we offer. It's completely free. I don't know if you've seen it yourself, but it's something we've been developing for the past 9 to 12 months. It's right on the website. There's actually two avenues. One is under the main menu, more support. And then if you go under VAC series, there's support documents for every unit. That's pretty killer, because if you lose your owner's manual or you need cycle times for your unit, whatever it might be, it's all listed under there. So that's really cool. I think a lot of people will benefit from that, especially getting started, stuff like that. And that's at no cost to the customer. We built these margins so that we could support the customer in every avenue possible. We also created this is really cool as well, VAC News articles, or VAC News Hub on the website. So if you go under more, you should see VAC News. And there's a VAC series playlist. There's VAC supplies playlist, which announces a lot of the new products and some of the commercial stuff as well, roll stock. So it supports not only our consumer side, but it supports our commercial side as well. And you can get in there, learn how to replace stuff. There's videos usually in tandem with them. And if there's no video on YouTube, it might be under the VAC News Hub. But there's also updates on new products. There's just anything you might need to know is probably in there. And we've already got over 50 articles on there, which is a huge testament to our team and the development behind that. So I think that's pretty killer.
Good. And I'm going to put all those links in my in the description below. So check it out, guys. You can check out everything about JVR at their website by clicking below. One of the things I want to talk about, since you brought it up, that is you didn't bring it up, but the outlet store. Okay, you do this, like you've done it the last couple of years, and it's really, really popular. Because let's talk about the outlet store and exactly what it is and what people can get and how they can save
Yeah.
on these units.
Yeah, so to speak again on the whole situation is we receive the product, one of our service techs looks over the units. If a unit does not meet our standards or our quality specifications, we reject that product and we put it off to the side, and we continue to create or inspect grade A product. Anything that's like grade B or grade C, whether it be any type of damage, or maybe it was fine and a tech dropped it or something, then we can go ahead and go, okay, this unit's ready to be pushed to an outlet, which means there's a minor blemish or a major blemish on the unit, and we reduce the cost on those. So you get a full warranty on those units. A lot of people ask that, and they also wonder, are these units still functionable? Yeah, they're fully functionable. They're 100% operational. There's no damage to that. It's just the aesthetics of the unit itself. So it's really cool that we can get out a product and reduce costs, because some people are like, I seriously cannot afford $8.99 for a unit, and I get that. So we like that we can provide this opportunity twice a year. We do it biannually. So every February and every August, we'll open up the outlet and we'll sell everything that we rejected from that previous batch. So you'll see more often than not VAC 100s, VAC 110s, and sometimes you'll see 310s and 410s sprinkled in there. Sometimes the 410s are pretty rare, but I do have a couple of those in stock right now for that August outlet sale. So check it out. It's also in the VAC news. You can read more about it. And it's online orders only this year. So from here on out, we're doing online only. It helps us to just better control the sale to meet the needs of our customers. So,
And that starts August 6th, correct?
yes, sir. Yep.
Okay. So yeah, check out the link below, guys. And also, if you use the code FIREWATER, you'll still get $100 off the new units. I don't think that applies to the outlet stuff.
Correct.
Yeah. So the outlets are already severely discounted, but if you want a new unit instead of the outlet, let's just say you look through the outlet stuff and nothing in there, you really want to have something that's perfect and pristine, go ahead and get a new unit, use FIREWATER and the code to get $100 off. So your unit's $799, which, guys, believe me when I say that's going to be the best $799 you ever spent on a vacuum sealer. It's like I said, mine's been going strong for 4 years with no issues whatsoever, and I love it, and I use it probably at least 6 times a week for something. I mean, if I'm not vacuum sealing, my food, or using it for sous vide. My wife's using it. She'll buy the big things of dog food. We got a small dog, but she'll buy a 30-pound bag of dog food and vacuum seal a bunch of it up because it'll sit there for 6 months, and she doesn't want it to, it just makes it easier to store and everything. So as far as bags go, you guys offer a whole ton of different bags because you are mostly commercial side, but
Yeah.
I love the zipper bags. The zipper bags are great. I go and buy bulk lunch meat at like Costco, like 6 pounds of lunch meat. And, if I'm not a restaurant, so, to just have 6 pounds of lunch meat sitting in the refrigerator doesn't make sense. So I'll use those the little zipper bags and just break it down into 1 or 1.5 pound packs and freeze some of it and all that. So how many different types of bags and thicknesses do you guys have? I mean, is it just thousands and thousands?
Yeah, so we have your standard chamber vacuum pouch under a vac pouch line, and we have the zipper chamber vacuum pouches under a vac pouch line. We carry the standard chamber pouch anywhere from 100 pack all the way up to case. So 100 pack, 500 pack in case. Case quantity will change based on the dimensions of the product. So if it's a 16 by 20, there's less that are going to be in the case. If it's like a 6 by 10, obviously it's much smaller. You're going to fit a lot more in that case. So case quantity can vary from like 250 all the way up to, maybe 4,000 in a case. So it's just going to vary depending on product dimensions itself. You can special order 6 and 7 mil. So if you're a commercial account, that's really cool avenue you could take. As far as the zipper chamber vacuum pouches, we sell those in 100 packs, not 500 packs in cases. So, and like I said before, the 100 packs have broadened, so there's more opportunity, more options there as well. And then lastly, we have custom printed chamber vacuum pouches too. So whether you're a small business or, bigger business, we have a really good team in-house that supports that. We do graphic design work for people. We will pre-press it, just get it set up for press beforehand. And then we have multiple options as far as speed and price to keep it real competitive. So lots and lots of options there as well.
And one thing, it just always gets me because back when I first started looking, you get people all the time on Facebook when they ask me questions. It's like, do I have to buy my bags from the company that makes the vacuum sealer? They don't understand that all the vacuum sealer bags will work in pretty much any chamber vacuum. You don't have to buy VacMaster bags to use with a VacMaster. You don't have to use JVR bags with your JVR, which means if they have any other kind of chamber sealer, they can buy bags from you. If your bags, you offer something that the other companies don't, or you offer a better value, they can definitely buy the bags from you. So it's just
Yeah.
another option. So
I have
that,
seen situations where people buy from like Amazon and then they get this really terrible pouch and then they're calling us about their unit failing and they've only had it for like a couple weeks and it's
right.
like, where are you getting your pouches from? So in some cases, I would be a little bit more hesitant, maybe gravitate towards companies that have been around a bit longer because they're going to have
Right.
a better quality process in general. And that's something that it's not just JVR. There's other people that have higher quality pouches that are, consistent. They're not just sourcing it
Yeah.
from 4 locations. So, but I will say we do have 0 returns on our chamber pouches. So as far as
Awesome.
quality, phenomenal.
So do you guys have any inkling or looking at going into suction sealers at all? Or is it strictly going to be chamber sealers from here on out?
Yeah, at this time, we are not looking to do anything with dry piston pumps. We believe that would be number one, it's thinner margins. It's it's way harder to support because the units are
Yeah.
failing more frequently on a
Right.
lower dollar item. So whether you get it in a suction sealer or a chamber vacuum sealer with dry piston pump, they're just not longer lifespan and the dollar value is much lower. The margins are lower. And we feel like that would be quite harmful to the brand name
Yeah.
because we'd be selling
Yeah.
uh,
And that
materials that
explains,
not.
really explains why. And people should understand that the oil-based pumps are far superior. They're gonna last you a lot longer. There's fewer issues because, those dry pumps, man, they are going to fail, and I know a company that's all they use is dry pumps and they have chamber sealers and they're actually pretty good, but I just know it's not going to last as long as a oil-based pump because that's just the way those are made. So
Once in a while, you'll get a customer who will turn around and say, "Oh, my dry piston pump lasted 10 years in my suction sealer." And that does happen. Like, we're not discrediting that by any
right.
means, but there are a high level of units failing prematurely. When I get phone calls where the guy's like, "Yeah, I'm on my 15th unit, it just failed. I think it's about time to change." That's more frequent than the 10-year
Right.
aged external suction or vacuum sealer. I apologize there.
Well, what else do you want to talk about? We're about done here. I don't want to keep you all day, but I definitely want to make sure anything that else you have to bring up, you go ahead and bring it up. I think we touched on most of the stuff. So anything new that you can talk about? I know you got some stuff coming, and we talked about the uh, sale and all that coming up. So what else you need to talk about before we go?
One thing I definitely like to mention, our annual Vac Friday sales coming up this
Oh
coming
yeah.
November. So we usually have an early access sale. But if you're looking just like early access through Fire and Water, so if you know Fire and Water already, he should have a URL to point you to get that sale early so you can get your unit earlier and make sure you're getting it before Christmas. But we do guarantee Christmas delivery on all orders. Um, and we're really excited about that sale. It's always a really big sale. It's cool to see all the people really excited to give out the units for Christmas, or some people just buying it for themselves, but it's
Yeah.
kind of cool.
That's usually what I do.
The other thing is China. I definitely want to hit on that a little bit more because that was a really unique experience. The lag time on that was something else. Coming back, definitely a zombie after the 12-hour change there. But when we went over there, we weren't sure what to expect because there's a lot of, I would say, probably misnomers of China. The people over there are amazing. So I wouldn't um, I wouldn't discredit China entirely as a whole because of certain perspectives. And I do understand a lot of those perspectives, but China is a phenomenal country. The people that live there are phenomenal as well. The food, phenomenal. Believe it or not. Definitely some really unique food. One time we were sitting at a table with one of the manufacturers and they served us up these little fish. I think they're about 5 to 6 inches in length, and it was completely fried with the head on there and everything. And I'm only, it's not too often you come to China, so I guess I'm going to try the head. Absolutely delicious. If you just ignore that you're eating a whole fish, but it was actually really good. Some pretty unique chains out there. The scenery out there is beautiful. Maybe we'll release a video on all of that. Yandang Mountains out just south of Taizhou, absolutely gorgeous. It's about 4,000 feet up. The mountains are literally like straight up. It's pretty unique because like in the US, everything's very, tapers up to the point. Once in a while you get places where it's straight up, but this was all straight up. It was insane. It was beautiful. They had bridges over it. There's actually spots where they had like little, I don't know if they look like big metal staples sticking out of the mountain. You could like hook up and climb around the mountain. It's not something I personally would want to do because it's, almost 4,000 feet up in the air. I'll keep my sanity before trying to do something like that. But we checked out the Shanghai or Shanghai. They call it Shanghai. But the city there was absolutely beautiful. We took a bullet train from Wenzhou up to Shanghai, and it goes, I think it's 217 miles per hour. So really fast, but the ride was so smooth you would never expect it. The only time you felt a little jostled was, maybe another train is coming by you at one of the stops, or, once in a while you'll feel a little bump in the road. But other than that, it was absolutely phenomenal ride. It didn't feel like you were going that fast because everything was pretty far away from the train. So it looked slow moving, but every time an object went close by, it was like just a blur. The speed was just insane. But yeah, so that was a good time. I definitely would suggest anyone that's looking to travel, check out China. It's not somewhere I would ever have expected myself to want to go, but after going, it was definitely worth the experience. It was a phenomenal trip. So,
Well, awesome, because I'm a travel agent now. So if anybody's out there that wants to go to China, hit
yeah,
me up,
exactly.
because it is
Exactly.
fire and water cooking and travel. So
Yeah.
definitely great. Well, I'm glad you had a great time. I'm glad your manufacturer out there is spot on. Like I said, I haven't had any problems with my unit, so I know that they put out quality products, and I know that's important to Andy and you guys. So definitely want to thank you for being on. Thanks. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
we'll be on again sometime soon, but we'll make sure people know about the August 6th outlet sale coming up and the
Yep.
Vac Friday coming up in November. I'll make sure I post them on all my social medias as well. And thanks again, Peter. It was really great meeting you. And I've talked to you many times over the years, but this is the first time you've been on the podcast. So
Yeah, thanks for
make
having
sure,
me.
yeah, thanks guys. And make sure you check out all the links below for JVR. I highly recommend the unit. I think if you ever buy one of these, many people have bought them from me over the years, or because of I told them to. I just suggested them. They love them. So I haven't had anybody tell me they didn't like it. So check it out. Thanks for watching, and Peter, thanks again, and I'll see you soon.
Yep. Talk to you soon.
Well, thanks again for joining us on the Fire and Water Cooking and Travel podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share, and follow us on our Instagram, Facebook, and all that at Fire and Water Travel and Fire and Water Cooking, and fireandwatertravel.com and fireandwatercooking.com. I'll see you on the next Fire and Water Cooking and Travel podcast.